You've been executing your edge for 6 weeks, and results are flat or slightly negative, and the question haunting you is how to keep believing in something that hasn't proven itself yet. Because faith without evidence feels irrational, and you're too smart to keep doing something that isn't working. But this framing is wrong because you're asking results to provide faith when results can't provide anything meaningful in 6 weeks. And what you actually need are proof points that don't depend on P&L to tell you whether your process is sound. The first proof point is execution consistency. If you're executing at 80% or higher week after week, you have evidence that you can follow a systematic process under real market pressure. And this ability is rare and valuable regardless of what P&L says, because most traders can't sustain 80% execution for 6 consecutive weeks. The second proof point is emotional stability. If you're experiencing losses without revenge trading, without doubling size, without abandoning plan, you have evidence of psychological capacity that most traders never develop, and this capacity is prerequisite for edge realization over sample size. The third proof point is learning acceleration. If you're identifying execution errors faster, recognizing market conditions more accurately, refining entries and exits through data, not emotion, you have evidence of skill development that compounds into improved results over time, regardless of current P&L. The fourth proof point is risk discipline. If maximum loss per trade stays within parameters, if daily loss limits are respected, if position sizing remains consistent, you have evidence that drawdown cannot become catastrophic, meaning you survive long enough for edge to express over sufficient sample. These 4 proof points provide rational basis for continued faith. Execution consistency proves process. Emotional stability proves psychology. Learning acceleration proves development. And risk discipline proves survivability. And together, they create foundation that P&L will eventually reflect. Faith built on proof points is rational, not blind, because proof points measure controllable inputs that mathematically produce positive outputs over sufficient sample. While faith built on P&L is irrational, because P&L in small samples reflects variance more than edge. The dangerous alternative: building faith on short-term results means faith collapses during losing streaks and inflates during winning streaks, creating unstable psychological foundation where commitment fluctuates with variance rather than anchoring to process quality. The weekly faith audit. Every Sunday review 4 proof points honestly. Score execution consistency, emotional stability, learning acceleration, and risk discipline on simple scale. And if all 4 score high, your faith is rationally justified regardless of P&L because controllable inputs are producing expected behaviors. If proof points score low, faith should decrease, but response isn't abandon edge. Response is fix specific controllable input that scored low because low execution consistency requires different fix than low emotional stability. And targeted improvement is rational while wholesale abandonment is emotional. The timeline of faith. Weeks 1 through 4. Faith comes from execution consistency alone because sample too small for anything else. Weeks 5 through 12, faith expands to include all 4 proof points. And beyond week 12, P&L begins providing supplementary signal, though proof points remain primary indicators. Common resistance. I need to see profit to believe this works. Profit will come, but requiring profit before believing creates impossible timeline, because belief drives execution quality that drives profit, meaning you need belief before profit, not profit before belief. This is where most traders fail, not because their edges don't work, but because they require proof from metric that can't provide proof in available time frame. Abandon edge during normal variance window, then start new edge requiring same proof it also can't yet provide, creating endless cycle of adoption and abandonment. Your implementation. Write down the 4 proof points. Score each weekly. Use scores, not P&L, to evaluate whether continuing is rational, and build faith on what you can measure and control today, rather than what probability will deliver over time. Faith in your edge doesn't require results to prove it. Faith requires evidence that your building foundation results eventually reward, and proof points provide that evidence weekly, while P&L provides it only after hundreds of trades.